Good evening, good evening. What's up, folks, and welcome to another live edition of Carolina Panthers Talk, brought to you by Blitzball Champ Gaming here on the U to the Tube. I'm your host for this evening, Blitzball Champ Jason Ingram. Such an honor to be back on here. It's been a good while. But it's really good to be back on here doing another live stream talking Carolina Panthers. So, wanted to talk about a couple of things tonight. We got a returning wide receiver for the Carolina Panthers. We're going to talk some about Cam Newton's interview that took place on the pivot with Fred Taylor and Channing and Ryan Clark. So that was really interesting. We're gonna talk some about the idea is Baker Mayfield closer to coming to Carolina than we think. You know, there's been a lot of stuff brewing about the whole situation with Deshaun Watson. So I mean, and it doesn't look like the Browns are too sold on Baker Mayfield, and supposedly word is that they're at the point where they're willing to agree to a 50-50 split if it comes down to a trade with the Carolina Panthers. I don't know if there's some sort of sense of desperation from one or the other or both, but it could be winding down to that. So that's the situation, it seems. But we got a good bit to talk about tonight. One second. Okay. So first off, let's talk a little bit about the wide receivers situation in Carolina. Now, the Panthers did bring back wide receiver Keith Kirkwood, who's been with the team the last two seasons. Didn't really do a lot. As a matter of fact, only played in 3 games, caught 3 passes last season, and then he spent most of his time on the practice squad. And then he was on injured reserve in 2020. So he really hasn't been able to get going. But like I said, he played only a few games, did a little bit during his time in Carolina. But this is another piece added as competition for the wide receivers. So in order for them to make this move, they ended up waiving one of their undrafted rookies. They waived Talolo Limu Jones to make room for Keith Kirkwood. Now, looking at the wide receiver situation, it's really going to be interesting to see who can really break out this coming season. I mean, we know we're re-signed and extended DJ Moore. So DJ Moore is going to be staying. DJ Moore is our best wide receiver. Robbie Anderson struggled last season. The season before with Teddy Bridgewater, played very well. Hopefully, he can bounce back. You know, he also signed an extension as well, and hopefully he can bounce back this season, because I still believe that he is capable of bouncing back and producing similar, if not better, than 2 seasons ago when he played with Robbie Anderson. with Teddy Bridgewater. We picked up Andre Roberts, pretty much return specialist. Don't really know how much we will see him in the offense, but 13 years experience. So we could see him in the offense. Terrace Marshall, we have him. Didn't really see a lot of Terrace Marshall, but maybe this is the year that he can blow up. Hopefully he can stay healthy, but hopefully this is the year that he can blow up. We got to remember, he was a second round pick. So need for him to really start showing up. And hopefully this is the season that he will show up. Shi Smith, to be honest, I mean, Shi Smith is still on the roster, but being that he's got court date around training camp, if I remember correctly, don't really know if Shi Smith is going to still be on the team or not. I mean, if he is, I believe he can contribute, but it's really going to come down to will he even be available? So big question mark with Shi Smith. Brandon Zylstra, he was brought back. Brandon Zylstra got a little bit more experience in the offense. I mean, I'm sure he's going to be doing more with the special teams, but he can be used in the offense. Rashard Higgins, brought in before, was with Cleveland, could be vying for that number 3, that slot receiver spot. 7 years experience. Have to see how that goes. So, I mean, we have some interesting names at wide receiver, but I am hopeful. I'm hopeful that 3 particular receivers, 3 in general, I'm hoping either one of these 3 or all 3 of these 3 will really break out and contribute heavily. Number 1, Robbie Anderson. I'm hoping that Robbie Anderson can have a bounce back year and have similar stats to what he had with Teddy Bridgewater, with, of course, more touchdowns because he didn't have that many touchdowns, but still went over 1,000 yards receiving. Number 2 is Terrace Marshall Jr. Like I said, he was a second-round pick a season ago. So hopefully, and he's another big body too. He's another big body. 6'2", is another big body. But main thing, I hope that he can stay healthy, because I believe if he can stay healthy, I think he can contribute in a big way. I think it's going to start with his health and then just execution. You know, because I believe between him and Rashard Higgins, that's going to be a tight battle for that number 3 receiver spot. It's going to be a tight battle. Real tight battle. And number 3, as surprising as this may sound, Brandon Zylstra. I wonder if Brandon Zylstra, if used more in the offense, can take it up a notch. You know, he's made a couple of big plays, not a whole lot, but when his number has been called on in the offense, he has made big plays. So I'm hoping that there can be some follow-up to that, some building off of that, some growing if he's inserted into the offense more than usual. Because if that's so, then that's going to be another big weapon, or that's going to be another name that's going to grow into a big weapon for Carolina in the passing game. Because I'm under the hopes that this receiving core, with the upgrades at offensive line, that will hopefully give the quarterback time, and the quarterback can make the right throws and the good, accurate throws / decisions, whether it be Sam Darnold, whether it be Matt Corral, whoever. Pardon me. Whoever. Hopefully, they're able to make plays and get these wide receivers some shine. Because I think we have a very interesting wide receiver core. Like, outside of DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson, the other names are kind of sort of a little known to unknown. I mean, you got some known names. You got some known names in Rashard Higgins and Andre Roberts and Brandon Zylstra. But then you got a returning Keith Kirkwood. You got Terrace Marshall Jr., two names that haven't really been able to get going. I mean, at least Rashard Higgins has done some damage with Cleveland. Andre Roberts has done some damage at special teams before coming here. I believe he was with the Chargers, if I remember correctly. And Brandon Zylstra, already has a good amount of experience with the Carolina Panthers. So, and like I said, Shi Smith, still a question mark. So I'm just really curious to see. And it's like right now, there's still a handful of wide receivers. I mean, right now that's what? Robbie, DJ, Higgins, Kirkwood, Marshall, Shi, Zilstra, Roberts. I mean, that's 8 right there. And then there's some other names. CJ Saunders, Derek Wright, Andrew Parchment, Charleston Rambo, Rashawn Henry. That's 13. That's 13 receivers right there. So it'll be interesting to see, throughout preseason, see what this final wide receiving core is going to look like. Because I think we're going to be surprised. I think some of the turnouts are going to be surprising, if you ask me. But brought back Keith Kirkwood, which I believe was a 1-year contract. I'm pretty sure it was 1 year. And then, there was another signing. Drew Jordan. Apparently played his first 4 seasons at Duke, and then last year played for Michigan State. Defensive end. 6'3", 255 pounds. 3 tackles for a loss and a sack and a half last season. So if anything, depth. Who knows? Maybe he's, turns out to be a practice squad guy. I don't really know that much about him, but I mean, hey, that's depth. I can dig that. Because when it comes down to it, I can see a lot of guys being evaluated throughout training camp, throughout preseason, as it gets closer and closer to the 53-man roster. So we'll see what happens with that. So Keith Kirkwood brought back. Panthers signed defensive end Drew Jordan. And they recently waived Joe Jackson. And then other news, which I'll speak on this quick because this wasn't really that exciting. But apparently Queen City News has announced a multi-year agreement with the Carolina Panthers to be an official television partner and the team's flagship television station. I guess that's cool. I mean, I guess that's cool. I mean, I don't really have too much to say on that, but I mean, that's nice. That's nice. Apparently, says the Queen City News, according to Jake Burns, Panthers chief commercial officer, says Queen City News is a leader in sports programming in the Carolinas with its award-winning Charlotte Sports Live show. And the station's commitment to the market and the amount of local news and sports programming ensures that our fans will have access to more television content than ever before. Well, I mean, that's nice. Yeah, that's nice. that's really all I have to say about that. But anyway, let's move on to some meat. Let's move on to some meat. So, Cam Newton had an interview on The Pivot. The Pivot, hosted by Ryan Clark, Fred Taylor, and Channing. I keep forgetting what his last name is. Oh, Channing Crowder. But yeah, so this pretty much this podcast, like, interview. The Pivot. Cam Newton was their guest. Had about a little over an hour interview. And there's a lot of articles on it, a little bit of breakdown. Cap Crave had a breakdown about it, but there was quite a good bit that stood out to me about Cam Newton, with a lot of the things that he said. If it's one thing, I definitely understand where he's coming from in saying that. He said, and I quote, "My own worst enemy will always be me." And he emphasized that him being him is a blessing and a curse. And I believe him. I definitely believe him. Because, as much as there are still fans that still love and support Cam Newton, there's a lot of Cam haters as well. And I feel like from now until the end of time, that's just going to be split down the middle, 50-50. That's just going to be split, whether it's within the fan base or football fans as a whole. That's just going to be split. He also mentioned that the media mic will always be louder than his mic. And I mean, when you think about it, he makes a good point. Because the media is always going to go in, with different topics and, blow up about many different things. So therefore I can understand what he means by that. And it's the truth. It's the truth. I mean, and at least he's man enough to admit that. Now, one of the things that he also touched on was the mistakes that he's made. He blamed himself for getting himself into bad situations. He said effed up situations, but bad situations with his stint with New England and with his second stint with Carolina. He talked about his stint with New England. Mac Jones, like him and Mac Jones, learning the system. Of course, Mac Jones ended up being the starter, carried on through the season as the Patriots starting quarterback. Cam Newton talked about how, with the lack of certain talent, because let's be honest, Cam Newton didn't really have a lot for weapons during his time in New England. Let's just keep it real. May have had the coaching, may have had the staff and whatnot, but as far as weapons, we gotta be honest with ourselves. Not really much for notable weapons in New England. He also admits that didn't really fully have the offense down. And even in the midst of that, he praised Mac Jones. He believes Mac Jones, good quarterback, will definitely become something. And it's a bummer what he went through there, not only with that, but also getting COVID and just, being in a situation where just not a lot for, OTAs and training camps and just not being able to fully get the offense down. And, it definitely reflected somewhat in his performance. But like I said, that's just one factor. There's many, many other different factors. Now, when it comes to the second stint in Carolina, I definitely feel like it was a much more messed up situation compared to New England. Now, New England Patriot fans, may feel otherwise. And like I said, I'm sure they know a whole lot more in detail, being that, they're Patriot fans. So I can respect that. But when it comes to the second stint in Carolina, once again, he admits he put himself in that situation. And he emphasized what I've been emphasizing for so long, especially to a lot of the folks that want to be so hard on Cam Newton with the time spent in this second stint in Carolina. And it's like I said multiple times. And I'm just being real. It doesn't matter who the quarterback is. Doesn't matter. You cannot sit there and expect any quarterback to come in the middle or past the middle of the season and just pick up an offense like that and expect them to be successful. That is an unrealistic expectation. It's a ridiculous expectation. And it was just like Cam Newton said. We're not talking about a left tackle, a safety, a wide receiver, a running back. We're talking quarterback. One of the most important positions, if not the most important position in football in general. And the evidence was there. The dude was signed that Thursday, played Sunday. I know he didn't start, but he played some snaps that Sunday. And then the following Sunday, he started. That's just under 10 days. You cannot realistically expect a quarterback to have the offense, a new offense, new system down like that and be successful. That is a ridiculous expectation. Yes, I understand. And just like that, Cam struggled. And even in his first start, which he actually played well, but defense was trash. And just there are so many factors, I understand. And like I said, Cam definitely struggled. He might have gotten, some touchdowns here and there, but yeah, he definitely struggled, especially that Miami game. Indeed. Pretty much his worst game in his NFL career. I think it's safe to say it's his worst game in his NFL career. But let's not act like that he came into this with everything that he need to stand a chance, because he didn't. And for those that think otherwise, I'm sorry, but you're delusional. You cannot expect any quarterback. I don't care how good that quarterback could be, a top 5, number 1 quarterback in the league. You can't expect any quarterback to come to a new team middle or later in the season and expect them to have the offense down just like that. It don't work that way. And it played a role and reflection of Cam Newton's performance in this second stint at Carolina. Plain and simple as that. And that's why I can understand what a lot of people have said about, the idea of give Cam Newton a full offseason and such and see how he does. I mean, I don't know if that's too little too late now. Probably isn't too late, but I mean, only time will tell, because there's no telling if there will be another team that gives Cam Newton a shot. But I can understand fully where he's coming from about him admitting that he put himself in those two messed up situations. And the one with the second stint to Carolina was extremely messed up. Although I thought it was very interesting when Cam Newton said after the first stint in Carolina, he started to accept the idea that he may not get another chance to play in the NFL. That I thought it was interesting that he even came to that conclusion. But I mean, he also emphasized that, still a businessman, still can strongly do what he does with that, giving back to the community and such. So, I mean, after all, talks about how important it is to, you can have riches and this, that, and the other, but if you're not investing correctly, if you're not using it correctly for the long run, then I mean, it'll all go away just like that. It's kind of one of the reasons why I'm kind of scared to get rich personally. I mean, I know there's advantages and disadvantages, but a big part of me is scared to get rich. I'm just going to keep it real with y'all. To the part where he talked about there's not 32 quarterbacks better than him. Now, here's the thing. On paper, that's a really good argument. But at the same time, when Cam Newton fired back at Channing and asked who he felt were the bottom 32, and Channing, he couldn't answer that question. He couldn't answer that question. So I mean, he doesn't believe that 32 other quarterbacks are that Cam Newton's not better than 32 other quarterbacks, but when asked if he could name the bottom 32, he couldn't even do that. So, I mean, maybe that's a fair argument. Joe Valesco, what's up? I feel the only team going to give Cam Newton another shot are the Panthers or the Seahawks. Perhaps. I mean, the door isn't fully closed on a Panthers return, according to the Panthers organization. So, I mean, there's that. Seahawks, I have no idea what they're gonna do. That quarterback situation looks weird, if you ask me. But about Cam's argument, he believes there's not 32 quarterbacks better than him. Now, if we're talking, because he emphasized right now, he did emphasize right now. Now, if we're talking about, the 32 starting quarterbacks, or what we would believe would be the starting quarterbacks as of now, he has a fair argument. Because, I mean, you have to think. You got to look at you got to think of some of the names. If we were to go down a list, let's think of some of the names. Okay, Buffalo Bills, Josh Allen. Yeah, I would agree Josh Allen's better. Josh Allen has been rising up more and more and more. So, yeah, I can understand Cam not being better than Josh Allen. I can understand that. The Dolphins. Tua, I'd say no, too early. The Patriots, Mac Jones. Still think it's too early, but he's on a rise. Zach Wilson, the Jets. No. The Ravens, Lamar Jackson. As of now, yeah, I would say he's better than Cam. The Bengals, Joe Burrow, yeah, definitely better than Cam. The Browns, Deshaun Watson. Ooh. That's debatable. The Steelers, Kenny Pickett. No. Hey, Super Treybo, what's up? Hey, what's up, Jason? Wouldn't it be cool if Cam could pull a Peyton Manning at the end of his career? Cam's shoulder shot, just like Manning was, and Cam's comes back at the end of his career and wins the Super Bowl. I would love that. And honestly, I am hoping he does get a shot at redemption. I really do. I hope he gets a shot at redemption. Let's continue. The Texans. As of now, Davis Mills, yeah, definitely not better than Cam Newton. The Colts. Who do the Colts have? Matt Ryan. That's debatable. That's debatable. I mean, both are MVPs. Now, Matt Ryan versus Cam Newton, that's a good comparison, actually. That's a good debate. That is a good debate. Both have played in the Super Bowl. Both have been a MVP. I mean, Matt Ryan went to the Super Bowl, won MVP the year after Cam did. So, I mean, that's a fair argument, actually. That's a fair argument. The Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence, no, definitely not better than Cam Newton. The Titans, they still got Tannehill, right? I wouldn't put him over Cam Newton. The Broncos, Russell Wilson, yeah, I definitely would say it's better. Kansas City, Patrick Mahomes, yeah, definitely better than Cam. The Raiders, Derek Carr. No, not better. The Chargers. Uh, Justin Herbert's made some splashes, that's for sure. He's made some splashes. Would I say better than Cam? I don't know about that. I don't know about that. The Cowboys, Dak Prescott, heck no. The Giants, Daniel Jones, heck no. The Eagles, Jalen Hurts, no, or at least not yet. The Commanders, who they got? Carson Wentz. No. Better than Cam? No, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that. The Bears. Who the Bears have now? What? Justin Fields. Justin Fields and do they still have Dalton? No. So yeah, just Justin Fields. No, definitely not better. Let's keep it going. The Lions, Jared Goff, heck no. The Packers, Aaron Rodgers, yeah, Aaron Rodgers definitely better than Cam. The Vikings, Kirk Cousins, heck no. Super Treybo says, so are they saying it's going to be between Seattle and Carolina where Cam ends up? No. It's still up in the air. I mean, Cam Newton right now currently is at the point where he can accept the idea if it's over for him with football. I'm sure his competitive spirit still wants to play and still wants to compete, which I mean is realistic. But if not, he still can be a businessman, give back to the community at a high level. That's what he said. Joe Valesco says Andy Dalton signed with the Saints. That's right. Sure did. Sure did. Thank you for reminding me. Where was I? Oh, Vikings. Kirk Cousins. No, definitely not better than Cam Newton. The Falcons. Mariota. No. The Panthers. Sam Darnold. Heck no. The Saints. Now with the Saints, I mean they got a couple of folks that are going to be fighting for that starting position. I mean, Andy Dalton, Jameis Winston, which I don't think either of them are better than Cam Newton. The Bucks, Tom Brady. I mean, yeah, Tom Brady is better than Cam Newton. The Seahawks, no. The Niners, Jimmy Garoppolo. That's debatable, but I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say no. Not better than Cam. But I could see how that's debatable, especially based on win percentage and such. The Rams, Matthew Stafford. Ooh, yeah. I'm gonna have to say yeah. As hard as it is for me to accept, potentially better than Cam Newton, I'd have to say yeah. I'd have to say yeah. As hard as it is for me to admit that. And then the Cardinals, Kyler Murray, no. So, I mean, on paper, are all 32 starting quarterbacks currently in the NFL better than Cam Newton? Heck no. Some of them are, of course, but not all 32. Let's keep it real. And I know I don't care if folks want to say, well, if he was better, he'd be on the team right now. There are plenty of other players that could be on a team right now that aren't. I still believe that Colin Kaepernick deserves a shot, but he ain't on a team. So I mean, and there's many that you say are on a team. Do they deserve to be on a team? Something to think about. But Cam has a fair argument. It's not the end all be all, but it's a fair argument. You know, if anything, I definitely believe that Cam Newton realizes, said some things, that weren't good, done some things that weren't good, and it seems that he's owned up to the responsibilities of that. But one thing's for certain is you can believe what Cam said, regardless, whichever organization he's a part of is going to make an impact, is going to make some noise, and, will be embraced because that's the kind of guy he is and always will be. Hey, Mamba, I have a feeling that we are going to trade for Baker. Well, the word is that the Browns and the Panthers seem to be in a much more, I guess, supposed better understanding to possibly desperation. So we'll see. Vietnam, what's up? Herbert, Allen, Stafford, Jones, Mahomes, Burrow, Wilson, Brady, and Rodgers are the only quarterbacks better than Cam. Herbert, that's debatable, but Herbert's on the rise, so he's not extremely far from it, but Herbert's debatable. Allen, I would agree. Stafford, I would agree. Jones, debatable, but is on the rise. Mahomes, I would agree. Burrow, I would agree. Wilson, I would agree. Brady, I would agree. And Rodgers, I would agree. But Herbert and Jones, that's debatable. I would give Herbert the advantage over Jones. I would give Herbert the advantage. For sure, I would give Herbert the advantage. But yeah, those others you named, I would agree. I would definitely agree. Hands down. Baker Mayfield. Herbert and Jones both can throw the ball accurately. And I mean that's just one thing. I mean, as I said before, Vietnam, you have to remember, accuracy has never been a strong suit for Cam. And yet, still look what he's been able to do. Mamba says Carr, Cousins, Prescott, Lamar, and Murray also. Carr and Cousins and Prescott? No. Better than Cam? No. Lamar? Yeah. Lamar, I could say that's a fair argument. Murray? Nah. And the thing with Murray's a bust in the playoffs. That's a big reason why I would not pick Kyler Murray over Cam Newton. Kyler Murray is a bust in the playoffs. Carr is an interesting argument, but I'd have to say no. Cousins, definitely a no. No. Cousins better than Cam? No. I have to respectfully disagree. Prescott, I have to respectfully disagree. Vietnam, I'll give you Lamar, Mamba, but Cousins and Carr, no way. Agree. Oh no, it's all cool. It's all cool. Vietnam. No, I by all means, we can debate. We can totally debate. No love lost. We can debate. You know that. We can debate. Where does Cam rank then? That's a good question. That is a very good question. But I do agree in that not all 32 starting quarterbacks as of now are better than Cam. I think we can all admit to that. I think we can all at least admit to that. Where does Cam rank? I don't know. That's a fair question. And one thing's for sure, Channing Crowder, when he was asked who are the bottom 32, he couldn't even answer the question. He couldn't even answer the question. And Vietnam makes a good point. Cam hasn't played a full year to make an accurate ranking. That is also a fair point. That is a fair point. I mean, his situation, did it bring a spark into the organization? Yeah. Did it work? Did it work out? No. Because it's like I said, and that's where the big disadvantage lies, because not a full year. But yet so many people want to fault Cam for that. I mean, yeah, he agrees that he put himself in that situation. He accepts responsibility for that, and that's good. That's very good. But as I said before, whether it's Cam or Tom Brady or Mahomes, you can't expect any quarterback to come in middle of the season to a new team and be successful and just grasp the offense like that. That's not realistic. That's not realistic. Baba says from what we have seen from Cam these last few years, he is like mid-20s. That's fair. That's fair. Vietnam says Cam just doesn't pass the eye test for me, but not having the reps and the offense plays a part. But maybe the shoulder isn't healed all the way yet. That's debatable as well. I mean, we can speculate, but at the end of the day, only Cam really knows. But that is a fair argument on the shoulder. I mean, it probably isn't the same since the hit. It probably isn't the same, but if anybody that would know more, Cam would. I'll give Cam just outside the top 10, but there aren't 10 superstar quarterbacks in the league. I don't know about that. If I were to name let's see, 10 superstar quarterbacks. Let me see. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Matt Ryan, Russell Wilson, Patrick Mahomes, Matthew Stafford, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Justin Herbert. I mean, that's 10 right there. That's 10 right there. Dak Prescott is debatable. Dak Prescott's debatable. So, I mean, that's 10. That's 10. Let me see. Yeah, that's 10, borderline 11. Let's see. I mean, perennial Pro Bowlers, household names. Herbert and Ryan are not superstar. What? Herbert was a former offensive rookie of the year, and Matt Ryan is an MVP that's still putting up high numbers. What are you talking about? Matt Ryan still puts up big numbers. What? You might want to look back. This was the only year in almost 8-9 years that Matt Ryan didn't throw, just miss the cut for throwing for over 4,000 yards. Yeah, Matt Ryan can still get it done. Can still get it done. Would you take Ryan over Cam? That's actually a good debate. Who's better, Matt Ryan or Cam Newton? That is a good debate because let's not forget, Matt Ryan won MVP the year after Cam Newton and went to the Super Bowl. That is a fair comparison. Folks forget, Matt Ryan was an MVP and played in a Super Bowl just like Cam. Now, I understand that he mainly played for the Falcons, but he deserves just as much respect and praise. Not to mention also offensive player of the year, offensive rookie of the year, 4-time Pro Bowler. Matt Ryan has done the deed. Passing leader in 2016, completion percentage leader in 2012. Yeah, Matt Ryan can still get it done. And shoot, I can't stand the Falcons. And Justin Herbert, like I said, Justin Herbert, I feel like he's established himself. I mean, the dude came in, won what, offensive rookie of the year? Let's take a look at Justin Herbert. Not to mention, Justin Herbert threw for 5,014 yards, 38 touchdowns, and 15 interceptions. I don't know, bro. Those are superstar numbers. A QBR of 65.6, third in the league, second in passing yards. Yeah, Justin Herbert has grown into a superstar, especially for that Chargers team. Yeah, Justin Herbert deserves to be on that list. Dak is better than Cam, no debate. I can't agree with that. I can't agree with that. There's so many things. There's just certain factors that just makes it hard for me to take Dak over Cam. Well, is Herbert better than Cam? Said he was on the rise. I mean, it's a fair argument. It's debatable. It's definitely debatable. And at the same time, I mean, we have to also remember, Justin Herbert, what is this? This is only his third year in the league. But so he's definitely on the rise. And it is a fair argument that he could be better than Cam. It's a fair argument. But let's also keep in mind that he's about to be in his third year. But he's definitely made some noise in a big way his first 2 years. For sure. Mamba says, really just depends on the system. Perhaps. But Mahomes, Brady, Allen, Burrow, Lamar, Wilson, Rodgers, Stafford, Herbert, Ryan. That's 10 superstars right there. That's 10 star quarterbacks right there. And if you want to get technical, if you really want to get technical, despite what's going on legally, you got to consider Deshaun Watson. You got to consider Deshaun Watson with the numbers that he's put up in his career. After all, Carolina was on the way to giving up the house for him. That should tell you something. So technically, that's 11 right there. I mean, like I said, the whole legal thing, that's a crazy sticky situation. But I mean, Phantom also says Dak has had a better O-line than Cam ever had, and with more weapons, and still hasn't made a Super Bowl. I mean, now that I think about it, what's the furthest Dak has made in the playoffs? Has Dak made it to an NFC championship? I'm curious. Dak is 1-3 in the playoffs. Yeah, Dak is 1-3 in the playoffs. Let's see. Cam Newton is 3-4. I mean, it's close. It's you know what, Mamba? It might be a lot closer than I thought. Between Dak and Cam, it might be a lot closer than I thought. You may have something there. You may have something there. Chevy Cuts, welcome to the stream. We need to start Cam. Yes, versus Green Bay, right? I mean, if we get Cam, if Cam decides to return, I mean, the door isn't closed. The door isn't closed on Cam, according to the Panthers organization. So, I mean, but here's the thing, though. Here's the thing we got to also keep in mind. Right now, it's June, still early June, beginning of June. The whole thing with Baker Mayfield or with Cam Newton or whatever needs to happen as soon as possible, because you're gonna want to get who you want before, training camp and all that and such, so that they have the opportunity to get everything ready, get the systems going, and you know what I mean? So if they truly are going to get Baker Mayfield, they probably need to go ahead and pull that trigger ASAP. They'll need to pull that trigger ASAP. If they want to go take a shot at Cam, they need to pull that trigger ASAP. Sam Darnold is not going to cut it. Now, here's my thing with Sam Darnold. If he stays on the team and is deemed the starter, I mean, of course, I'm going to pull for him to be successful. If they're on the team, I'm going to pull for them to be successful. But, I mean, we have to, like I said, we have to ask ourselves, are we pleased with our current quarterback situation? Do I believe we could do better with our quarterback situation? And I would have to say yes. Are they going to do that? Remains to be seen. But it's something to keep in mind. We have to look at what we have and ask ourselves, are we really pleased with our quarterback core? Because while I know many are hyped for Matt Corral, are you really wanting to throw Matt Corral out there to start ASAP? That's a lot of pressure. Chevy Cut says no. Mama says Cowboys offensive line really has not been good. A few years ago, the Cowboys offensive line was the best in football. If I remember correctly, Fan Nom, wouldn't like the Cowboys and the Colts like the top two offensive lines at the time? Deshaun is probably getting suspended for like 2 or 3 seasons. Yeah, Mamba, something is brewing. And more cases are getting piled up. Something is brewing. No. Have him sit for 1 year and learn. Oh, in regards to Matt Corral. Yeah, and that may be what's necessary. That may be what's necessary. Van Nam says yes. Okay. Yeah, because I remember for a while, Colts offensive line got a lot of praise for a long time. It's because injuries and retirements that they have. Tyron Smith can't stay healthy, and Frederick retired. Fair points indeed. What I'm thinking, what might end up happening, which would be a shock, but I would understand. It might end up being one of those things where we might flat out see an exchange. Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield. We might see a legit trade of both quarterbacks. And the reason I say that is because the Browns, I'm sure, are going to want somebody to step in the case Deshaun Watson does indeed get suspended for however long. And that could be, medium sized to a big suspension, because it seems like more and more of these are piling up day, after every other day and such. I mean, he's still in the news. And, if that's the case, and the Browns really don't want to deal with Baker Mayfield, then trading for Sam Darnold seems the most likely understandable scenario. Mamba says, I hope that's how it turns out. I mean, that would probably be ideal. Because, I mean, like I said, Baker Mayfield over Sam Darnold might not be a gigantic upgrade, but it is an upgrade. I think it's fair that we can agree on that, right? It might not be a ginormous upgrade, but it's an upgrade. But if you ask me, if something's going to happen, it's probably going to happen ASAP, because we can't afford players to miss out on training camps and OTAs and all that. We can't afford that to happen. So whether it's Baker Mayfield or Cam Newton, and Fitzpatrick's out of the picture because he's retiring, and Garoppolo is out of the picture as well. So, I mean, realistically, those seem like the only two the only two options at upgrades, it seems. Because I'm sorry, trading for Jordan Love is not an upgrade. Mamba says, Cleveland is trying to make up with Baker, apparently, but if I'm him, I'm leaving no matter what. And that's probably what his mind is set on. That's probably what his mind is set on. But anything can happen. Going back right quickly to the pivot, I wanted to bring up this Cat's Crave article that says the 4 major takeaways from Cam Newton's appearance on the pivot. I'm kind of curious to see what these 4 are. Major takeaway number 1: Cam Newton feels he is being overlooked. And he quotes, "If you think I shouldn't have the chance to be on a team right now, you's a darn fool." And I agree. Because I do believe he deserves to be on a team. Number 2, Cam Newton still believes he can start. I believe he can too, but he's got to prove it. He's got to prove himself. And I think full off season, I think, is a fair platform for him to prove that he can win that starting position. I believe he can, but I do agree that he has to prove it. For sure. He has to prove it. Major takeaway number 3. Cam Newton blamed himself for walking into bad situations. Hey, accountability at its finest. I love it. And major takeaway number 4, Cam Newton has too much passion to walk away. And I feel that's where that competitive spirit resonates. And he said, and I quote, "When I walked out of that tunnel, when they introduced me this past year, it's like, man, I'm not ready to give this up. That desire, it never leaves." And I totally get what he's saying. And if you ask me, ladies and gentlemen, if you ask me, and I would love to get y'all's thoughts on this. In all honesty, who are the last 3 big name Carolina Panther players that have made huge impacts? Like ground shaking impacts. I can name 3 to 4. I'll give you 4. Cam Newton, Christian McCaffrey, Luke Kuechly, Thomas Davis. Now, you look at the impacts that those four players have made. And, who was the last one? Who was the last one of them to make an impact of some sort? Cam Newton. What's one thing that he did? Fired up the crowd, the organization. Whenever Cam Newton scored or whatever he made big plays, the morale boost went up. We barely got that from Sam Darnold. I mean, Teddy Bridgewater had his moments, but to the level of impact that Cam Newton has made, especially in his career with Carolina, is night and day. Joe Valesco says Christian McCaffrey, Luke Kuechly, Cam Newton. Yeah, that's a solid 3. And like I said, I would add 4 and say Thomas Davis. But what this is leading to is, who do y'all honestly think will be the next Carolina Panther to make the sort of positive impact to the level, if not greater, than Cam Newton? Now, I'm not saying that there weren't other players, especially before Cam Newton, that made significant, ginormous impacts. I mean, come on. Julius Peppers, Steve Smith, Smash and Dash, Jake Delhomme, Chris Gamble. Tons. But if you had to think of the top 5 to top 10 most impactful players to ever played for the Carolina Panthers organization, we all know dang on well Cam Newton is in that. Joe Valesco says Matt Corral. Mamba says Matt Corral and DJ Moore. DJ Moore is close, but I think what really is going to help DJ Moore is the quarterback position. Matt Corral, here's hoping. I just hope he's not set up too early to fail. That's my big thing with Matt Corral. I hope he's not thrown into the fire so early that it causes a downfall. Because I'm sorry, if there's one thing I do not want to see, I don't want to see a Jamarcus Russell situation in Carolina. I don't want to see a Ryan Leaf situation in Carolina. I definitely do not want to see another Chris Winkie situation in Carolina or a Jimmy Clausen. So I'm hoping the best for Matt Corral, but just, does he have a good chance at winning the starting quarterback position? I think he has a fair shot. I definitely think he has a fair shot. But when you think about it, I think Sam Darnold is really, I think it's safe to say Sam Darnold himself is on a hot seat. So I would think he would be playing with more of a sense of urgency. But that's just me. I'm not Sam Darnold, so that's just me. That's me watching from the outside. But there's just there's just so much to really factor in, just with a lot that's going on. And I'm really hoping, regardless of the organization, I'm hoping Cam Newton gets at least one more shot at redemption somewhere, whether it's Carolina, New England, I don't care. I really hope he gets another shot at redemption, because I fully believe, and Super Trebo said earlier, if Cam Newton pulled a Peyton Manning, that would be like the greatest way to go out for Cam Newton. He would, after that, he wouldn't have to play another snap. And he would pretty much seal his Hall of Fame spot for sure. 100% for sure. But like I said, between him, Baker Mayfield, right now Carolina having I think they said now the second highest in cap space. But here's the thing. Another thing that is mentioned is, do they save what they have and cut into the cap penalty for next season, or the season afterwards? Because that's something they could consider, because the Panthers are expected to have a pretty high cap penalty after this coming season. So maybe they can, cut into that. Mamba says, this Deshaun Watson situation is crazy. Colin Kaepernick and Michael Vick have lost their careers over less. Yeah, that is true. It's unfortunate, but that is true. Very, very true. But you know something, Mamba, and everybody else in the chat? We can rejoice. With the ginormous bullet, atom bomb, bazooka, whatever you want to call it, y'all, we dodged a ginormous bullet in not signing Deshaun Watson. I mean, we're going to put up the house for him. $230 million. We dodged a ginormous bullet. Now, some may say, Tepper, the organization is dumb for even trying, but, which may be the case. But at the end of the day, it fell through. It didn't happen. We dodged a major bullet. Mamba says, I know, right? Yeah. Despite how great Deshaun Watson is and how much better he is than Sam Darnold, that's a given. We dodged a ginormous bullet in not winning over Deshaun Watson. Yeah, exactly, Mamba. His entire contract is guaranteed no matter what. Suspension or not. Unless there some sort of undisclosed statement or whatnot, or kind of loophole in the contract, yeah, that money is guaranteed, suspension or not. Vietnam says, I want Matt Corral thrown into the fire right away and he becomes tempered steel and the best quarterback that we ever had. As cool as that outcome would be, that's a giant risk. That's a big old giant risk. Now, while I do agree the team and organization got some upgrades on the roster and the coaching staff, that's a lot of pressure. Now, don't get me wrong. There have been rookie quarterbacks that have succeeded. I mean, shoot, we just mentioned them earlier. Justin Herbert. Cam Newton when his rookie year. And there's many. It would be interesting. I just think there's so many variables. There's so many variables. Like on paper, you would think Matt Corral outperforms Sam Darnold in practice training camp, has a stellar preseason. You would think, okay, you know what? Give him a shot at starter. And like I said, that's a lot of pressure. But has a support system of some sort with the coaching staff. Not really a mentor at quarterback, unfortunately. But it would be interesting, Vietnam. It would be interesting to see what happens. I'm just very hesitant, especially considering what's happened with Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, Trevor Lawrence. Those names are in the back of my head. You know what I mean? That's why I'm hesitant. Mamba says his situation is more than winning football games. Yeah. And then you have to also account the idea that, they may have said that, or at least David Tepper has said Matt Rule's going to be here at least maybe another 2 years, but I would still, deep down, I still think Matt Rule's on the hot seat. I still think he's on the hot seat. David Tepper can say whatever the heck he wants. Matt Rule on the hot seat. 2 back-to-back 5-win seasons. That man is on the hot seat. I don't care what David Tepper says. With the upgrades that they've made, especially coaching staff, let him get 5 wins or less. Let him get 5 wins or less. Shoot. Mamba says Matt Corral does not seem like a Matt Rule guy. The perfect coach for him would be Jim Harbaugh or Eric Bieniemy. Yeah, if Eric Bieniemy ever gets a shot, I don't know if he'll ever get a shot at a head coaching position. I hope he does. Just if it hasn't happened by now, that worries me a little bit. That worries me a little bit. So that's my only thing with that. But I really would. I really hope to see the results of these upgrades and changes be positive. If it means anything, in regards to Sam Darnold, we got a taste of it the first 3 games of last season. We got a taste. We got a taste. But I don't know if we'll get that Sam Darnold or better again. Remains to be seen. But if I'm Matt Rule, if I'm Sam Darnold, I'm coaching and playing like my life depends on it with this upcoming season. Because I'll say this. Sam Darnold, still in Carolina, and he has another terrible season, he's done. Ain't nobody gonna want to take a shot at Sam Darnold. I think at least with Matt Rule, he can get fired and he can go somewhere else probably fairly easily. Sam Darnold, not so sure about that. Not so sure about that. I have hope, though. I think the coaching staff changes. I think we'll do more of a service than we might expect. That's my hope. That's my hope, which I think it will. Now, to what degree remains to be seen, but I think it will be a difference maker. I'm sure the offensive line upgrades will be a difference maker as well. But I really want to put a little more emphasis on the coaching staff. Because, there's some major upgrades. Offensive line coach, special teams, D-line coach, offensive coordinator, especially offensive coordinator. So, and not only that, this team has to make themselves believable. Right now, power rankings don't look good for us. We're at the bottom. Offense don't look good for us. Near the bottom, if not at the bottom. Defense, I wouldn't say top 10. Maybe that's debatable, but it can be easily overlooked with the season that they had last year. But there's a lot to look forward to. Like I said, I'm very curious about the wide receiver situation. That's a big thing on offense. As much as quarterback is, the big deal, wide receiver position still has me very, very curious. Running backs, I'm not too concerned. Because I think if McCaffrey goes down, they have the running backs to carry on in his place. But they need to make some moves ASAP. They really need to make some moves ASAP. Supposedly there's rumors of possibly new uniforms for the Carolina Panthers. That'd be cool. I'd be down. Why not? Nice little spark, change of scenery. But couple of takeaways that I see just with some of the things discussed tonight. As I said, wide receiver situation. Carolina brought back Keith Kirkwood. It's a depth piece. Hasn't played a lot with Carolina, but in this competition of 13, 14 wide receivers on the squad right now, it's going to be interesting to see what the 3 and 4 look like, after DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson, which, I believe, are still the surefire 1 and 2. Mamba says we should at least give Geno Atkins a tryout. Geno Atkins. Geno Atkins. Oh, you talking about the defensive tackle from Cincinnati? Defensive tackle from Cincinnati? Is he healthy? Um, only played 8 games in 2020, but other than that, put up crazy numbers. I mean, shoot, I'd be down. If he's healthy, I'd be down. Totally. Probably be a nice piece to put alongside Derek Brown. Probably could mentor Derek Brown, you know? Perhaps. But if he's healthy. But I'm really curious to see at the wide receiver position who's going to end up being the 3 or the 4. And like I said, names that come to mind that are going to be in great competition: Brandon Zylstra, Rashard Higgins, Terrace Marshall Jr., perhaps Andre Roberts. Like I said, Shi Smith is a question mark. Keith Kirkwood, maybe. Depends on his health. But very curious to see who that 3 and who the number 3 and 4 will be. Secondly, like I said, the Queen City News multi-year agreement deal, that's nice, but I wouldn't say that's ginormous news. But it's nice. I mean, it's something positive. Cam Newton, like I said, great interview. Good to see him take accountability for, previous actions, previous things he said and done. That passion is still there. One thing I will agree with him on is, when he did his thing, he did it at a high level. Businessman, football player, and I agree. I definitely agree. But I do hope he gets another shot at redemption, whether it's with Carolina or elsewhere. I hope he gets a shot at redemption. I really do. And if Carolina is on the table, he needs to make that decision ASAP. And just, in general, he's got to make that decision ASAP. So Valesco says, should the Panthers sign Ndamukong Suh? Wait, is he even available? I didn't think he was available. Is he actually available? Hold up. Wow, he actually is. Mm, mm, Adama Kung Su. Mm, that's tough. I mean, well, or wait a minute. Hold up, hold up. I don't I don't know. Supposedly seems like the Raiders might be interested. So yeah, I don't know. I think word is the Raiders might be interested, but I mean he's available. He is available. Had a pretty productive year last time he played. 15 solo tackles, 6 sacks. I mean, could definitely still contribute. So yeah, Joe Valesco, that's a fair point. Maybe. I don't know how much of a contract he'd be willing to take, but I mean, could probably afford him. Mamba says, I appreciate that Cam really wants to play. It's not like he needs the money. I believe he has his own business also. Yeah, yeah, definitely. He's entrepreneur. He's a businessman, and still gives back to the community. Still does the 7-on-7 football and stuff like that. So I mean, if anything, I feel like he's set when it comes to money. If it comes to that point where just football is just out of the question. But yeah, I don't know. What do y'all guys think? Like, if it really comes down to it, do the Carolina Panthers go ahead and vouch to trade for Baker Mayfield? Should they use what they have currently in cap on on a different player, like Joe Valesco says, Nadama Kansu, or another, or a different defensive tackle, or maybe invest in the linebacker position, which I still think linebacker position still looks a little weak. Mm. Joel says the Panthers should sign Cam Newton. Well, if they're going to do it, they need to do it ASAP. They need to do it ASAP. I don't know if Matt Rule would be cool with that, but if they're going to do it, they need to do it ASAP. Whether it's him or Baker Mayfield, they need to do it ASAP. And when it comes down to it, as far as quarterback, I mean, that's really the only options. I mean, there were ideas of, potentially them trading for Tua. Jordan Love, but I just think they would have to give up too much. I think for Baker Mayfield, they can make it reasonable, but I think for anybody else, they'd have to give up too much. I think they have to give up too much. But they definitely need to make up their mind because, I mean, it's June now. August will be here before you know it. August will be here before you know it. But personally, if they're not going to add to the quarterback position or upgrade it, then they need to either focus on linebacker, especially the middle, or D-line. I think the secondary's fine. D-line could use some tweaking in the middle. Linebacker could definitely use an upgrade in the middle. And then for offense, really just quarterback. I mean, I think really just the offense. Quarterback is really the position in question. I think everywhere else is fine. Which poses the question, is Carolina really just a quarterback away from a playoff appearance or more? I mean, it's a fair question considering what our quarterback core looks like right now. Maybe ultimately that's what it is, y'all. Maybe with these additions and upgrades, maybe we are a quarterback away. I don't know. Maybe. Vietnam says quarterback, middle linebacker, and a true dominant pass rusher. Oh, that would be the ultimate prize right there to really finish and top things off, Vietnam. Getting all three of those. I'd shoot. Give me all three of those. Mamba says, I'm going to call it a night. Peace, Blitz. Thanks for the stream. Thanks for coming through. Good to see you, Mamba, as usual. But yeah, Vietnam, those are three ideal positions. And I mean, you know, we've dabbled in linebacker, especially, you know, in the offseason and, you know, in the draft, you know, getting Brandon Smith, getting Corey Littleton, Damian Wilson, which still is up in the air. But, you know, as far as true middle linebacker, I can't say with confidence that we have that. Maybe a draft away. Perhaps. Perhaps. It's just, it really comes down to, do we use our cap and get more resources now, or do we use our cap and cut into that cap penalty the following season? So the organization's got some decisions to make. Vietnam says, we have some money to use. If we attack free agency like we did this year, we might have a shot if we hit on Coro. Yeah, that's an advantage of that. But at the same time, you know, there's that whole situation with the cap penalty next year that could pose a problem. Clowney was there, but he is gone now. The rest are old and injury prone. Who's the best free agent pass rusher left? Are we talking about in the middle, or are we talking about on the ends? Because if we're talking about the middle, if we're talking about the middle, I mean, Starla Tulale, Ndamukong Suh aren't bad names. Sheldon Richardson. Now, if we're talking about defensive end, not really a lot of big names at defensive end right now. I mean, Jason Pierre-Paul, Ryan Kerrigan, So, I mean, yeah. Let's see. Vietnam says, I really want Corral to play right away. And please remember that we threw Cam out there week 1, also his rookie year. Well, that's a good point. But let's also remember, Vietnam, that he was named starter against the likes of Jimmy Clausen and Derek Anderson. So, I mean, coming in, especially as Heisman Trophy winner and national champion, and his competition was Derek Anderson and Jimmy Clausen. Which, this year could be a very similar situation with Matt Corral and Sam Darnold and PJ Walker. So, I mean, that in itself is a fair argument. But, I mean, I think we could agree that Derek Anderson, Jimmy Clausen, Cam Newton, was that really competition? I mean, Derek Anderson, he was getting up there in age and, wasn't really a big name quarterback. And Jimmy Clausen, well, we all remember how Jimmy Clausen was. So Vietnam, you got a fair point. You got a fair point. This could be a very similar situation. We got to look at the competition in 2011 that Cam Newton had. Jimmy Clausen, Derek Anderson. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think we should be too surprised that Cam Newton won the starting job week 1. And then, you look at what we have now, and, like I said, Matt Corral, definitely, it's really up to him. He has the platform and the opportunity to win that starting quarterback position. He just has to do it. And the only thing deciding between that is pretty much him. I mean, unfortunately, Sam Darnold has the advantage being that he's been a starter, but, he stinks it up. Matt Corral breaks through in a big way. That's his job to win, and Sam Darnold's job to keep. But I believe word is that supposedly Matt Corral is the third string. Word is Matt Corral, right as of now, is supposedly the third string. I could be wrong though. That's what I've heard, but I could be wrong. Unfortunately, Matt Corral missed OTAs last Wednesday due to I guess a family emergency or whatnot. So that's a bummer. But hey, at least he's not injured. So, but yeah, at the end of the day, Matt Corral is definitely in a position where he can go out there and win that starting job. Definitely. He just has to do it. And, for Sam Darnold's sake, I mean, if he ends up being the starter, I really hope that he can. As he said, he believes he's a great quarterback. Prove it. Show us. Because he may not get another chance to show us. He may not get another chance. So. But at the same time, I mean, there are a lot of fans that definitely want Matt Corral to steal away that starting position from Sam Darnold and give Sam Darnold the big old boot. I mean, if I can be honest, it's not a great thing, but I mean, it's not a great thing due to, I mean, he is on our team, and whoever's on our team, I want to succeed. It's just, more and more as time passes, it gets harder and harder to support said player when they can't get it right. So that I can definitely understand. But it's just it's tough. It's really tough, especially with how the Panthers have been doing lately the past couple of seasons. I mean, we're not a threat right now. We're not a threat. And I hope this is a year with so much on the line, in different areas. I'm hoping this can be the year that they can reestablish themselves as a threat. That's my hope. We're not quite a threat yet in the NFC South, but I do believe we have the opportunity to sweep Atlanta, split or sweep New Orleans. Tampa Bay, probably not. Probably not at all, but you never know. But anyway, that's pretty much all I have. And just to kind of, give my final thoughts. Can't wait to see how things go with the wide receiving core. Whether it's Cam Newton, Baker Mayfield, like they need to make they need to make their mind up ASAP. As far as what to do with the rest of the cap, I mean, we can do some things, quarterback, linebacker, D line, or they can save it and cut into that cap penalty next season. I mean, they got some options, but we're in June. August will be here before you know it. But I'm hoping, and like I said, with Cam, I'm hoping he gets one more shot at redemption, no matter where that is. And I do hope that when it comes to the Carolina Panthers, that somebody can step up and really make a big amount of noise, whether it's Matt Corral or a returning Christian McCaffrey or a returning J.C. Horn. Like, we all saw the impact that Cam Newton made. I want to see somebody from the Panthers roster surpass that. I want to see who is going to step up and surpass, capitalize, go even further than the impact that Cam Newton has done. And many other players as well. I mean, further than Cam Newton, further than Luke Kuechly, further than Smash and Dash, further than Julius Peppers. Who is going to be that next Carolina Panther to really take that torch and blast it all up in the air for the organization and really take the ball and run with it? Matt Corral, DJ Moore, Christian McCaffrey, Shaq Thompson, J.C. Horn. I mean, it's something to think about, y'all. It's something to think about. And you know what? Let's have a little bit more on this last topic. Who do you feel on the Carolina Panthers, whether it's somebody you want or somebody that you think has the best chance, that can be the next player to really make that ginormous impact to where there are eyes back on the Carolina Panthers and we're a threat and even more? I know it's been mentioned. I think Vietnam said Matt Corral. Ekaim Hannon, he says he's got a feeling it's going to be J.C. Horn. I mean, J.C. Horn would be big. I mean, the last closest shutdown corner that we had, well, aside from Stephon Gilmore, was James Bradbury. I mean, Dante Jackson, not quite there yet. He's close, but he's not quite there yet. But he has room to improve. So I'm really, if it's J.C. Horn, I would love that. I would definitely love that. Maybe we get the second coming of Christian McCaffrey. Because we all know what a healthy Christian McCaffrey can do. And if he can make it through a full season, that's going to greatly contribute our chances of an improved offense. Greatly. Can Matt Corral be the next franchise quarterback for the Carolina Panthers? Because, I mean, I think it's pretty safe to say, definitely the the Cam Newton era is over. The Sam Darnold era has not really been good. So maybe Matt Corral can break that curse. Can Matt Rule save his job and turn things around? Ron Rivera did it in year number 3. Can Matt Rule do the same? Can Sam Darnold, if it comes down to it, can Sam Darnold put on the performance of his career and break out and actually pose a legit argument that he has indeed become a franchise quarterback? Because this year may be his last year to try to do that. Well, on paper, it would be his last year, but still, you know what I mean. Are we ever going to see the second? Are we going to see the second coming of Thieves Avenue or equivalent or better? Supposedly we were the second ranked defense last season, but we didn't have a lot of turnovers, especially interceptions. We didn't have a lot of those last season. We didn't have a lot of those. One thing I remember about Thieves Avenue, and especially the Super Bowl year and even other years, Carolina was keen on turnovers, especially a good combination of forced fumbles and interceptions. So we haven't seen that in a while. So hopefully that can change. But I'm just really, really hopeful. And whoever it is, can really break out and really change the atmosphere of the Carolina Panthers in a big positive way that'll help fast track this team and others as well to the point where the Panthers are a threat again. But only time will tell. And one last thing I want to emphasize, we dodged a ginormous bullet in not being successful in getting Deshaun Watson. I know everybody has their thoughts on Deshaun Watson as a football player. As a football player, he's excellent. But we need to also be realistic and accept that we dodged a ginormous bullet in not acquiring Deshaun Watson. Plain and simple as that. We dodged an atom bomb. And just more and more stuff keep piling up about Deshaun Watson. More evidence that we made the right decision. Anyway, I want to thank everybody for coming through and chatting it up with me in tonight's stream. It's good to be back on here. It's been a while, but I'm glad to be back on here. Y'all have been an amazing crowd. Love hearing from y'all. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share the stream. Don't forget to hit the notification bell for another Carolina Panthers Talk, brought to you by Blitzball Champ Gaming. I'm your host, Jason Ingram. Hope everybody continues to have a blessed week. Stay safe. I love y'all, and I will see y'all in the next video and or live stream. Good night, everybody. God bless. Peace.